Welcome back to Real Talk for an Unreal World. This episode is kind of special. I mean, spirituality is something that's very close to me, and I believe it's something that many of us are seeking. But because it comes with other names that have other ideologies that don't usually have the greatest history, we kind of separate ourselves from spirituality. And the world seems to be missing something. From what I see and from what I do in my life, there is a major disconnection from ourselves. We tend to give our power away to people, places, and things external from us. And we wonder why we're missing something within. But what I've come to learn over the course of my journey about spirituality is that spirituality is love. And it's important to remember that. And it's important to understand that because love is everything. And spirituality is a way to talk about love. It's a connection to ourselves and something external from us at the same time. But in order to connect to that thing externally from you, you have to find love within self. And spirituality is a really great way to do that because it allows you to put trust in something you can't see. And I'm going to share about this because I've finally been able to talk about this in a way that I feel good about. You know, like many of you know that listen to my stuff, or if this is the first time you're listening to my podcast, I was a drug addict for 23 years. I had a very difficult journey in this life. It was definitely not easy. 16 years with a needle can teach you some very traumatic experiences in your life because you choose to avoid a root core issue that's going on. I mean, that's what addiction is. Like, you don't have to be doing drugs or sticking needles in your arm to have an understanding that you're disconnected from yourself. I mean, many people reach for social media or video games or food, or some people just work all the time so they can stay distracted from a root core issue that is internal from them. They keep their mind focused on things external from them. So I did the same thing, yet I chose drugs. I mean, that's what was readily available when I was 14. And because I was not talking about how I was feeling, the drugs masked the symptoms from the internal problem that I was feeling. Those uncomfortable feelings from those experiences that I faced in my life that I didn't know how to address, the drugs masked that. And food works very well for that as well, and so does video games, and so does social media. Like, it's all the same. But for me, my journey of drug addiction led me to a jail cell. I eventually self-destructed to a point that I was taking things that weren't mine, and it took away my freedom, which wasn't all a bad thing. I mean, jail was extremely difficult. Withdrawal is not easy, but it was a place for me to go through withdrawal and allow me to come back into myself, to be with myself free of the distractions. And that was kind of a magical thing to happen. That took 28 days, that process, for me to go through the withdrawal of fentanyl and heroin. And that was no easy thing. That was one of the most excruciating things I've ever gone through in my life. Fentanyl is no joke. It's a synthetic drug that affects the nervous system and the body in such a detrimental way because there's nothing organic about it. It's purely synthesized. So when you see individuals on the street, or this idea that media has painted about fentanyl users, it looks horrible because the drug is horrible. And I'm going to throw this out there right quick. Heroin was organic. I was on that for, 10 years, 15 years. And I never experienced anything with withdrawal symptoms or the need to have the drug like I did with fentanyl. Heroin never did that to me. And I work with addiction and people in addiction on a day-to-day basis. And that is the consensus from everyone that's caught up in addiction right now. So I just want to throw that out there so people have an understanding of what's going on in the world, right? We look at the people and we judge the people, but we've also got to have a understanding of the drug and what it does to the people. It's crazy, and there is no heroin on the streets anymore. So it's gone. It's fully synthesized from a pharmaceutical takeover. That's what's happening on the streets. And that's why I got wrapped up in it as well, because I was addicted to opiates and the opiates I was using went away. So you just navigate to the next thing. But this drug, this fentanyl drug, is killing people at an alarming rate. I mean, we talked about the opioid pandemic 7 years ago? Like, it hasn't changed. It's gotten worse. And the reason it's getting worse is because people are sad. We are so disconnected. We are so divided that we don't communicate about how we feel. And we judge each other based on the distractions we're using from an inability to love ourselves. I mean, that's wild that we do that because we don't know how to love ourselves. So we judge other people. And I think it's really good to talk about that. In that jail cell, I had no idea what it meant to love myself. And I knew it because I'd lost the house, I'd lost my kids, I'd lost my job, I lost everything. I lost everything. And then I lost myself. And when you lose yourself and you're aware, it's an interesting place to be because you just feel like nothing. Nothing in this life matters because you have no understanding of what something is. A book found me that day in that jail cell, and it was about a man who lived a similar life to mine. His name was Matt Gober. The book was named Unchained. And in that book, he talked about his story. It was very similar to mine. I connected with and associated with a lack of love that he had for himself in my own life as well. He was using a language which I understood. Drug addiction, fear, anxiety, stress, avoidance, things like this I could understand. But something I didn't understand was the moment he surrendered his love to Jesus. There was an apparition that came off the wall. It presented it to himself. And from that moment forward, he fell on his knees and surrendered his love to Jesus. Now, I don't judge a man for his experience. I wasn't there that day. I don't know what happened in that room for him. But I do know that after he spoke those words, his entire life changed. That man went on to spread the word of love from a very authentic experience that happened to him and changed the lives of many. Because all he was doing was guiding them back to love within themselves. And in that jail cell, I decided to do the same thing. Don't ask me why. I mean, I guess I do know why. I had nothing. I felt like I had nothing. And I thought, okay, you know what? I don't know what this thing Jesus is, and religion is a business. It's an organization that's trying to control people. It's not helping the people. But maybe this thing called Jesus is different. So I took a chance. And I spoke those words. And I surrendered my love to Jesus in that day. And I'll tell you, the minute that happened, the second that happened, from the tip of my toes to the top of my head, I had a vibrational frequency run through my body like I'd never understood before in my life. But I did in that moment. I knew it was love and peace. It's an incredible thing to connect to a feeling and an understanding that you have no idea about in one moment. Tears streamed out of my eyes that day. I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, my jail cellmate's underneath me. Good Lord, I hope he doesn't wake up and see me like this. But it was just overwhelming. There was so much emotion inside of me that needed to be released. Not for all of the bad things I have done, but for the thing that just opened up inside of me. This love, this beautiful energy. And that's what I've known it as. It's an energy. It's a high vibrational frequency, but it doesn't come from another individual. It's born inside of you. And I had that day. After that moment, I passed out. I remember just being overwhelmed and just woke up the next day. And when I woke up the next day, I knew that I had something inside of me that never left. Because most things in my life up to that point had left me, but this thing didn't. And this thing, love, was allowing me to become a student. I knew it right then and there. Because love had allowed me to look at my past as something that already had happened. And I didn't have to carry that weight anymore. It showed me that I didn't have to carry that anymore. It already happened. It said, just take it off and learn from it. So I decided to be somebody new in that moment. And I thought, like, that's an incredible thing to be able to do, like love to teach you that, right? Because it's the truth. We don't have conversations like that. For men, they're told to bury it and carry it till the end, which breaks them down. And they have moments by themselves where, they consume too much alcohol or they have breakdowns and they don't tell anybody and they hide from their emotions because we've been taught to do that. And that's wrong. That is one of the most incorrect things we've been led to believe is acceptable in this life, that we should bury and carry emotions and not process them because we're men and we're strong. Like, it doesn't make sense. Emotions are energy, and energy must be transmuted and processed in order to make room for new energy and to learn from the experience. That's the most valuable thing about it, right? Processing emotions is something that we should be practicing in school so that we understand the value of it, right? Then we're free, we're liberated. We learn from our mistakes and we apply them for the next experience. And that's what love does. Love teaches you that. And that's what it taught me. That's what it showed me. And I share about this today because what happened to me in that jail cell was a miracle. I wasn't around when Jesus was parting the seas or turning water into wine. I don't know any of that stuff. I don't know if he rose above the ground and floated there and everyone's seen him. I don't know about any of that. All I know is that Jesus was a man who's been prophesized as a god or an idol. And I think that that's where it gets real confusing for people, because we forget that he was a man and that Jesus was an example of kindness, of empathy, of compassion, of offering time, energy, and attention to those that need it, those with less, so we can raise their vibrational frequency with love, so we can see and hear people. Because Jesus didn't have money. He's looked at as being this, wealthy king. That's how he's portrayed in much of religion, and it's just incorrect. He was a man, he was a carpenter, he didn't have much, he was a traveler. He was a man who took the word of love and shared that word of love for nothing. He never expected anything in return because he knew the people that he was connecting with were his brothers and sisters. There was no hierarchy, not in his world. We were all equal, and he had education about beautiful philosophies, simplistic philosophies of life that he shared to alleviate people from fear, anxiety, and stress. I mean, that's a beautiful thing. Why wouldn't you raise the vibrational frequency of those around you so you can live in a more peaceful life? He was an example of love. And that's how I've come to know this man. He's an example for me. When that thing happened to me in that jail cell, nothing was ever demanded of me to read the Bible and understand the scriptures, a story from 2,500 years ago that isn't very relevant today. And I say it's not very relevant today because the amount of misinformation, psychological control, and manipulation that's happening through social media tools kind of distorts the reality of then from now. I mean, there's definitely similarities with hierarchies and control and fear, absolutely. But the disconnection from self has never been greater. At least back then they were connecting because they had to. Now, comforts and complacencies and conveniences have separated us at an alarming rate. And I believe, it's part of me to talk about this because, the world is sad, we're lonely, and we're divided. And love isn't any of that. Love is connection. It's understanding, it's truth, it's respect, it's community. Like, that is what love is. And spirituality is just that. Although we have religions that divide us through different sects and different rules and different fear-based tactics, that doesn't make any sense to me. What God would ever harm another individual? What God is not all-inclusive? I mean, and I'm not just talking about Christianity, I'm talking about everything. I mean, it doesn't matter to me what you believe in, because spirituality taught me that we are all pieces of God. It doesn't matter who you believe in, Allah, Krishna, Buddha, Jesus, it doesn't matter. But what it taught me is that we're all pieces of God, no matter where we come from. And those pieces are within us. We're born of that. So we have a source of God within ourselves. So what we should be believing in is ourselves. Our time, attention, and energy needs to be put into ourselves. Love for self will share love with others. That's the tool of connection. That's spirituality. That's how we connect back all the pieces of God into that evolutionary state of consciousness. It's an evolutionary state of a high vibrational frequency that must come together in order to make it happen. And it doesn't need all of us right in the beginning to do that. It only needs a few of us to do that, to start a movement. And that's why I talk about this. And I'm so grateful that I'm able to talk about this because it's happening. The world is getting more difficult Materialism is falling away from people so you connect back to yourself, or you have the ability to connect to fear. But we've been scared for how long? You don't have to be afraid of nothing anymore if you believe in yourself. Because if you believe in yourself with love, nothing can stop you. And if you do everything from a place of love, nothing is going to come between you and love, because it's truth and it's authentic and it's connection and it's community and it's respect and it's understanding and it's trust. That's a beautiful thing when you lead with love. So I encourage you to become a student of love, because spirituality these days is becoming convoluted. It's getting watered down real quick. I see a lot of people that choose egotistical values and views of spirituality, their way or no way, or, bracelets that open chakras. Let me tell you something. Spirituality comes with an immense amount of work. The greatest results will be proven through your actions and practice. That's how you do it. You practice, you go within. Every single day you wake up and you tell yourself you are a student of love, and you try and face every experience, every thought with love, an understanding of love. Non-judgmental, no self-sabotage. It's a language. It's a love language that you use for yourself, and then once you understand that for self, you share that with others. So you speak less and you say more. Through actions. We've become lost in this world with action. We believe that posting things on social media changes things and obtains some kind of results. It doesn't. The greatest results comes through a community and a collective with an ideology and an understanding of a positive outcome that affects everybody globally, that affects the planet globally. We are the ones who have the power to do this. And by stepping up to spirituality and surrendering your life to love, I also want to say that the way I did it in my life may not be for you. That's just the point that brought me to that moment, so that I could find that book and find myself. But yours is personal. Like, spirituality is very, very personal. It's for you. I just share about my experience because I want to bring in awareness to what it means to me. Because I believe it's a little more inclusive in the fact that it'll inspire you to go on a journey within and see what you value and what you believe in. But it's very personal for you. And that's what makes it so beautiful. Is love at the core is an understanding to self, because it means different things to us as we're all facing different experiences. But when you understand love, you'll understand the beauty of what it is. But I encourage you to understand that on your own terms. You're going to have to go through, take light into the darkest places of yourself. But that's what it means to become a student of love, is that you don't go in alone. You go in with this thing called love, and love is truth. So you get to be truthful about the experiences. I think that's important to remember. The light will go with you into the darkness. And those things, like I said, they've already happened, right? So you are the only one holding yourself back, or you're the only one who is afraid to go into experiences that have already happened. And don't get me wrong, I was too, for a long, long time. And when you become an addict, you forget about what the root core issue is, because your entire attention is focused on the addiction. It's easier to focus on the addiction. It doesn't look easy out in the world when you see fentanyl or meth or whatever drug addicts, alcoholics, doesn't matter, addicts out in the world. It's difficult, but let me tell you, for some, it's easier to be that than it is to focus on the experience and process it. And it's my belief we just don't have the language of how to do it. We don't have the community of how to do it. So I'm trying to create one through my experiences. And all I'm trying to do is inspire you to go on that journey within, so that you as well can be in the light and share that with the people around you. Because that's how we do this. This isn't a popularity thing for me at all. This is the only way I know how to raise the vibrational frequencies of my brothers and sisters, is to teach them about the power that they have. That power of love is so real, man. It's so real, and it is so friggin' beautiful. And let me tell you something else. You're gonna make mistakes. You're going to, but with love, it allows it, because you learn from that mistake. You catch yourself, because love is honest. Love is authentic. Love is the light. The light is the truth. So it's cool. It's cool. It's okay to make mistakes, right? It's part of this experience. You don't beat yourself up for it anymore. You just say, okay, next time I come up into that experience, I'm going to practice it again. And let me tell you, the universe is going to give you another attempt at that experience. And it's very interesting when you start to see how the universe is working for you. It's incredible to see how it unfolds, the synchronicities. They're very beautiful, but your awareness will come back to you once you start alleviating yourself from the darkness. And your darkness there's no judgment on it, man. Physical sexual abuse is the same as neglect, abandonment, not being seen, not being heard, not being hugged, not being told you were loved. It's the same thing, because it's traumatic to the human. So we can't judge each other based on that. If my traumatic experiences were holding me in the same emotional trauma as an individual who's experiencing physical abuse, then we can connect and associate on that same feeling. Yes, the experiences are different, but the feelings are the same. And it's good to bring an association to that, because then we can see each other as equals, right? Good Lord, we're being taught to divide over every little thing these days, and it's not like that. We're all the same. You are not your vessel. Okay? This is just a suit. You are the light being within. And when you start to see people for the light they are behind the eyes, it's a beautiful thing, because you understand them a little better, right? We're all on our own journey. Everybody's trying to connect back to love. We just don't have the language for it, and we're not having conversations about it at the rate we should be, but we're about to, and we are now, because there's a shift in the world. There's a shift from this fear state that we're living in that is putting more pressure on us to be more afraid and take more away from us. That is happening. But there's also a shift in the light that is having consciousness being awakened, energies being heightened, and a connection to self happening all over the world at an alarming rate. It's beautiful. And I want you to be one of those people too, because the only person that is standing between you and that is you. You have the ability to do this. And if you need somebody to talk to about this, you can reach out to me. I've got guests on my podcast in the previous episodes. They're open to this as well. There is a community of people that are here for you. If your friends are not the ones that you feel would be receptive to this new perspective in life, that's okay. There is a community of individuals out there. You just have to try new things and meet new people. Spend your time wisely if you're going to use social media, and put yourself in places where you can find like-minded individuals, but limit the time you are in those groups and chat groups, because it isn't about the external, it's about the practice. The practice will prove results. The practice will teach you when you need to reach for another question and seek an answer to it. But you've got to practice. So my practice, I'll share a bit about this, because a lot of people say, well, what's the practice, right? How do you practice? I don't know. I guess the first thing I would encourage you to do is just admit that you don't have love. If you don't love yourself, and people never taught you how to love yourself because they were never taught how to love themselves, that's cool. But admit that, surrender that to the universe. It doesn't matter what name you want to use, Buddha, Allah, Krishna, Jesus, love, the universe, it doesn't matter. But I believe that that's a key element in it. Ask and thou shalt receive. So I think that that's part of it. And I'm going to share that because it didn't happen until I asked. It's almost like it knew, there's this vibrational frequency that's waiting to connect to that distribution of vibrations that has that question in it, that seeks an answer. There's this universal energy that's going around us that's looking for that. So I don't know, that's the way I can talk about it, because that's the way it happened for me, right? So, if I'm an example of that, 0.01% of the people that were in the situation I was in with 23-year drug addiction and, homeless and the needles and all the drugs and stuff like that come out of it. So that's a big deal. Not only that, the knowledge that I have inside of me is incredible, and it came through a spiritual connection. It floods in sometimes, but it does when I'm ready. And I practice. So my practice started out with Obviously the basics, yoga, meditation, breath work. I had to search on YouTube because I had no idea what any of that stuff meant, but I did find solace in opening up my body, stretching, and allowing energy to move through the parts of me that were just stale for so long. That was actually pretty incredible. And I failed at that so many freaking times. I can't even tell you. My yoga practice, oh my gosh, I would do it for a week and then I fall off for 2 months. And then I get back on it and I do it again for a month. And then I'd be like, okay. And something would happen and I'd fall off again. I mean, even to this day, I'm in and out of my practice, but I get back on faster than I fall off. So that's been really great. And that's part of the practice. But I think love as an understanding of an energy, when you open up parts of your body and you stretch, it moves in there. You can feel it. I would suggest don't focus so much on yoga as being work. Just go at your own pace. Whatever the instructor is doing or whatever the person on YouTube is doing, just chill, man. I was putting so much attention on having to do it just like them and be just like them, and because I didn't understand it, right? But after a year of practice, it was you know what, I got to do this on my own terms, on my own speed, and connect my own way. So sometimes the instructor was moving ahead of me, and I just pull back and do my own thing, stretched it out in my own way. If there was a stretch that felt good to me, I rocked into it. I liked it. I stayed with that. So just super organic, right? Do things that feel good to you. And this is part of understanding who you are again. You get to try new things. And this is how you figure yourself out, right? And it comes with discipline. Because we are very undisciplined in this life. Everything is to slow you down and keep you lazy and weigh you down, low vibrational frequencies, right? Discipline is a bit of a high vibrational frequency because all that learned behavior from your old life that you're letting go of not loving yourself is going to try and creep into you, right? It's going to make excuses as to why you don't have to complete things and, why you can do it tomorrow or whatever it may be, or why a bag of Doritos is better than 10-minute breath work. You know what I mean? It does that. It's just an awareness of self. Love gives you that. So I just want to kind of bring that into your awareness that it's cool. It's okay to make those mistakes and to learn about yourself and to have that going on. Breath work, I do the Wim Hof 10-minute breath work. It's on YouTube. It's really beautiful. It's really easy. If you can't hold your breath for the minute and a half that he has it, don't worry about it. He even tells you that. It's totally cool. It's just a practice of rejuvenating the blood in your body, filling it with oxygen. And that's so good for the body. I mean, we've been taught for so long that we don't have to take care of ourselves, or how we do take care of ourselves looks differently, in the world with just lifting weights, but there's so much more to it. Breathwork's a really beautiful one. It opens you up and it gives you, after you do the 10-minute practice, after I do it, I put on some meditation music. So for me, that looks like sound bowls because I'm kind of lightheaded after I do a 3 rounds of it and I feel great. And a lot of people are confused how they do meditation. Go hard on your breath work. Just do the best you can. That's also with love. Just try. Just do the best you can at whatever you're trying. Don't make excuses as to why you can't do it. Push yourself a little bit, right? It's beautiful when you try that. You're getting to know yourself again. And with breath work, at the end of it, you're in such an elevated state because you've had so much oxygen running through your body and your body's feeling totally different. That's when I put on my meditation music and I drift. I drift real easy. There's no thoughts. There's no nothing. That's come with practice as well. And when my thoughts do come in the meditation, I just say, be here now. That's it. Be here now. Every time a thought comes into my mind, I allow it and then I go, be here now. And it centers me and it brings me back. Now it takes practice to get yourself into that awareness and eventually the thoughts slow down. But even the thoughts moving at such a rapid rate is a great way for you to see that your mind is filled with things that, are probably not good for you, right? Pay attention to where your thoughts are. Why are you thinking about things from the past? Or why are you thinking about the future? You can't live in the future unless you're living in the moment, because living in the moment is the only way you affect your future, right? So it's a great way to see how all of that can go away very quickly. The past has already happened, and the future can only be best affected by living in the present moment. And having periods of stillness throughout your day in a meditation is so beneficial because it allows you to take time for yourself. And that is not selfish. That's part of taking back your power. You set boundaries with your loved ones. And this language that I speak of right here, this is spirituality to me because it allows you to connect back to yourself and understand yourself again. And you need that time to do that as it allows that universal connection to happen for you. But if we never take time to focus on ourselves, how's it going to happen? How's it going to work? It isn't. It's not just going to come to you. You have to do the work. And I know there's a lot of people in the world that believe that something is just going to change. Something is just going to happen. If I do nothing, something will happen. Not going to happen. You must take action in this life. And the universe will see that. See that you're taking steps in the right direction. And it will support you in the direction of love, in the direction of truth, in the direction of authenticity. That is the beautiful aspects of spirituality. It's just so real, It doesn't have to be filled with misunderstandings. It's very simple, and it has a lot to do with you and your practice and your understandings that are personal to you. And when you're in a community of individuals where it comes up in conversation to talk about belief systems, then that's the moment to talk about belief systems. But what you stand for, until you keep that to you. For me, I stand for authenticity. I stand for the truth, and I stand for love. And until we can all be equal and live with love and live with truth and be authentic, man, I'm not stopping because now I know what I stand for. But I do that in the name of love. There's no, resentment or revenge aspects, intimidation, aggression, violence that I would ever lead with. I would never do that because love would never do that. We have many examples in the world right now where that is acceptable to do that, but that's not from a place of love. That's from a place of fear. And we are all being affected by that. So we can change this thing. We really can. And spirituality is one way to talk about it. And it's a language that we have for ourselves and a belief system that we create of our own understanding. Nothing from another entity or establishment. It's got to be of your own creation and your own understanding, because that way you value it and you appreciate it, and it makes a home inside of you, and it allows you to stand for something. So I wanted to share that because, it's been, I don't know, it's been 4 years since this happened to me. And talking about Jesus is difficult, it's so, people don't want anything to do with that. And you know what? I don't blame you, right? Religion is an interesting thing in the world. Let's just be real. Look at it for what it is, right? It's a business, and it incurs an immense amount of wealth. The Pope has a 24 karat gold toilet. And then I think about this man speaking about Jesus, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Where is the association and the relationship in that? We've created a business, and a business that incurs that much profit has the ability to control, and it has an immense amount of power. And that power and that control can be used for the greater good, or it can be used in a very troublesome way. And I believe we're seeing the effects of the troublesome way, because there's many, many people that are suffering on this planet, and all that money could be used to alleviate and to be an example for the rest of us to follow. But they don't choose to do that. So we've got to be the example, because that's what it's all about. Church happens in a community of individuals. You don't need a building with a symbol on the top of it. That's never what it was about. It's just about community, because it's the people that make up the church, not the building. Not the traditions, not the rituals, not the idols, nothing like that. It's always the people and the energy they carry. It's a beautiful part of spirituality. And you all have the ability to have that wherever you are in the world. And I would encourage you to start stepping out and speaking your truth. Because speaking your truth is something that we have been taught that we will be judged for. And, love will not allow you to judge other people. It allows you to hear them and see them and meet them where they're at. We build communities based off of that, because I'm just a real guy. Like I'm this is how I am. This is who I am. And this is who I choose to be in this life. And this is what I choose to do with my life, because to me, this is purpose. Brands, buying materialistic brands is just a way for you to feel like you need to be accepted by people who don't know who they are as well. If you're going to follow people, you better know who you're following, and you better know what they stand for, because you're following that. But love allows you to be independent. It allows you to be independent yet a part of a collective that's following the same movement, because you know what you stand for, because it's honest and it's authentic and it's done with love. Yeah, I don't know, I get on a train of thought like this, and I'm like, I feel right after it, like I break from it. And I feel good about that, what I just told you. It needs to be said, because we are so much more than people are telling us we are. And I want to be the one to tell you that. And I want you to be the one to look at yourself in the mirror in the morning and tell yourself you're more than being an accountant. You're more than your bank account. You're more than the poverty that people tell you you're in. You are so much more than that, because energy, high vibrational frequencies of love is priceless, and the universe will help you in whatever situation you're in to share that with your brothers and sisters if you're honest and authentic about it. So please, go on that. I also just wanted to say, for the yoga that I use, I follow this couple called Breathe and Flow. There's so many out there, but I follow them. I do a morning routine with them, and then sometimes I'll do an evening routine. But just find space and time for yourself for that practice, and we'll talk more about this as we go. I feel like I needed to get this out today and talk about it this way and feel that, and I feel good about it. So much love. My social medias are Real Talk for an Unreal World. That's Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. We're on YouTube. Well, I guess those listening on Spotify, maybe. Okay, it's on YouTube too. It's on all podcast platforms under that name. Lots of information in the previous episodes surrounding different topics, but basically what I talk about is taking back your power and how to see your experiences as education, so you don't have to judge yourself and you don't have to hold yourself back anymore. Like, we try to eliminate those boundaries by seeing it for what it is, and seeing who's actually setting those boundaries, because it's you, right? So that's very important, and hopefully those can help you. My Twitter is realtalk4unreal, and my email is realtalkforanunrealworld@gmail.com. I had a woman from Alberta reach out to me and send me a beautiful email about what I'm doing, and she has children that are experiencing difficulties like many of us experience in this life. And I just want you to know that I found that, and it found me, and it was very beautiful if you're listening to this. And I just thank you from the bottom of my heart for, seeing me and hearing me, and hopefully I'm, continue to help you in on the journey ahead, because you're doing wonderful. So I just really appreciate you for that. Just connect to self, right? How can you love someone else unless you love yourself? And if you don't know love, ask for it in your life, because it is waiting to find you. Much love, people.